Hi everybody, I'm Dr. Marion and I'm the founder of the Rhythm for Reading programme. Welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about play. Play is such an important topic because it's the foundation of learning and also of creativity. Now, play has come up a lot this week because there's been a new report published, and I want to talk about play because of that, and to join with the journalists and the researchers who've done such amazing work in bringing attention to this topic of play. We're asking for more time and more space for children's play because it's such an important thing to actually get right. The new report on play that was published this week is called Everything to Play For, a plan to ensure every child in England can play. It's written by Ben Firth and Rachel Powell on behalf of the Centre for Young Lives. The report found that only half of the participating parents said that they played with their youngest child every day, and a further third of parents said that they played with their youngest child most days. Another statistic of concern is that there have been closures of over 400 children's playgrounds across England between 2012 and 2022. And another thing is that between 2011 and 2023, the total annual park budgets for England decreased by more than £350 million. In the report, children said to the researchers that they wanted to play outdoors more, but that the lack of opportunities to do so and the addictive nature of screens combined to trap many into a downward spiral. In the report, children told the researchers that they wanted to play outdoors more, but the lack of opportunities to do so and the addictive nature of the screens combined to trap many of these children into a downward spiral. Now, children are really suffering at the moment in terms of their health and well-being. They're missing out because they're not playing outside, and also because they're developing problems with eyesight, sleep, mood, and behaviour. And the report says that these problems are associated with using screens and digital devices. The NSPCC worked with YouGov to conduct a recent online survey. They collected data from 4,017 parents across the UK in May 2025. All the figures were weighted and are representative of all UK adults aged at least 18 years. And these UK parents and carers had children aged 18 or younger. 63% of the parents believed that their own childhood was safer than their children's. 45% of the parents believed it was easier than their children's, and 55% of the parents believed that their own child had been full of better experiences. There has been so much written about the influence that parents have on their children's development, but relatively little has been said about children's play as an important factor in child development as well. This particular point was made in 2002 by Steven Pinker, the Harvard professor, and he wrote a wonderful book called The Blank Slate: The Modern Denial of Human Nature. There has been such a rush to reduce complex human processes such as child development into theories and frameworks around parenting. And it's been such a rush that the blindingly obvious influence of other children was somehow forgotten. But Pinker's powerful insight was that children with similar social situations and knowledge of the world would build friendships based on reciprocity as they see themselves reflected in each other. They spend time together cooperating and competing and resolving any conflicts as they come up. Now, the Guardian newspaper covered the report on play this week and asked whether children have enough time and space to build these important bonds with each other. If our streets are full of crime and children spend a long time in school playgrounds standing in line as they wait for lunch rather than playing with each other, then we must have forgotten why play matters. Let's imagine for a moment that we're watching children playing cooperatively. They are so engrossed in their game that they lose track of time. They have an amazing sense of freedom because they are so completely involved in their play. Although it's fun and spontaneous, play is also very rich and interesting. When children play together, each of them has their own reason for investing their energy in a make-believe game. Each child is motivated by vague feelings that might provoke uncertainty or curiosity, and this is why each child brings their own ideas, aspirations, and intentions to the game. For example, one child might want to create a game around unfairness, and another might want to explore what it feels like to be powerful. Using their imaginations, the children can concoct a scenario that gives them both a chance to amplify the niggle that they both need to explore and express. Themes of danger, threat, death, and dying are often explored through imaginary worlds and stories. In fantasy play, perhaps one child is always the perpetrator, perhaps another is always the victim, and yet another is always the hero. Skirmishes, rough and tumble, and play fighting are accompanied by smiles and laughter. If playful aggression crosses a boundary, the smiles will flip over into anger, and the bubble of the shared scenario bursts. The children repair the damage to their relationships in their real lives, not in the game. So, to avoid such a breakdown, they tend to monitor their friends' signals. Being able to sustain a game is actually a feat of stamina as well as of emotional intelligence. The routines of role play and repetitive stories that become favourites among friends may seem dull compared to the newer, snazzier spectrum of video games, but there's a world of difference. You can't negotiate with a video game, and you can't repair a conflict with a video game, and neither can you feel the shock of causing real-life harm to your friend in a video game. These life lessons are simply missed, even if the video game is really exciting, really clever, really noisy, and great fun. As I reflected on the report commissioned by the Centre for Young Lives earlier this week, I remembered that play has come up unexpectedly for me in 2008. You see, I was researching my rhythm-based approach in inner London with children who were in Year 4. The design of the research involved comparing a phonics-based approach with a rhythm-based approach. A child who had been randomly allocated to the phonics group begged me to play with him rather than to do the phonics drills, even though these were pretty playful. He actually cried, and he said that he had no one to play with after school. He lived in a tower block and had to stay in his neighbour's flat until his mother came home. He was desperately lonely, and when his mother did eventually come home, she was always too tired to play with him. I will never forget how he implored me every single week. He would say, "Please, I beg you, play with me. No one plays with me. I beg you to play with me." You see, play is not at all fluffy. It's a really important and essential part of our evolution as mammals. Young mammals play, particularly in rough and tumble or play fighting. This is how they learn to defend themselves and do lots of other things too. And in this vein, neuroscientists have been fascinated by the topic of play. It's recently been described as a blended nervous system state, which means that during play, children feel safe enough to confront uncomfortable feelings of threat, danger, and vulnerability, because the context of play is not in itself threatening. So this allows children to explore those big, scary feelings of fear while being in a playful state of social engagement, bonding, and reciprocation. This state is always in flux. The social flavour of the play is changing all the time, as children are constantly interpreting the way that the game is being played. For example, too much aggression becomes overwhelming and threatening, whereas too much caution becomes boring. The delicate balance between play versus getting hurt or frightened is something that children are intuitively dialing up and down all the time. There's also rhythm in playfulness because play is repetitive, rewarding, and fun. And if we think about the simple games played with infants, such as peekaboo, or bouncing games and circle games that young children enjoy, or even those that older children play, such as clapping games and skipping games, in every case, the structure of the game is based on different forms of rhythm. Peekaboo is all about the rhythm of anticipation and surprise. Bouncing games are about predictable rhythms in motion and the anticipation of a sudden change. And circle games, such as ring-a-ring-a-roses, involve staying in time together, coordinating with others, and then all falling down together at the same time. Clapping games and skipping games for older children are really intricate and they're highly rewarding because of this. The children develop close coordination and proximity and also joint mastery of all the skills of the clapping and the skipping patterns. Usually they're telling a story at the same time, so there's a lot going on there. Now, if you'd like to explore rhythm-based games, I've actually created a workbook. It's an invitation to bring rhythm into the classroom this month. It's called Joyful June. I'll be covering this in this week's Thursday webinar, and I'd love to see you there. The link is in the blog post page if you'd like to join. So thank you so much for joining me today for this blog post and for listening, and goodbye for now.